Welcome, everyone, to the Sonoma Spiel. My name is Tim Zahner with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. Working in a visitors bureau, I have to tell you, people often come in and they want information, of course, and they want maps, they want guides, they want to know where to go to eat, they want tasting passes, which we have for the wineries. But oftentimes they're like, hey, I'm visiting from Iowa, I'm visiting from Toronto, I'm here from Brooklyn, and I want to send home a postcard. And we get to tell them, well, one, postcards do still exist, which is really nice. We don't sell them at the visitor center because we let our other people sell them around the shop. So you can go to the Barracks gift shop to get a postcard. You can go to Tiddlywinks and talk to Heidi. She sells postcards. And it's kind of fun to get a postcard. And people really like getting a little piece of a place that they've been to. And you're saying, hey, I'm here in Sonoma. And there you are in Dubuque and doing Dubuque stuff. And it's fun, right? And you're wondering, Tim, why are you bringing up postcards? Well, today, dear listeners, I have two very special guests. And this time, I actually mean it. I have one, a repeat offender. I think he's been here 3 times. Maybe this is his 4th, possibly his 3rd. So first of all, I want to introduce Eric Zivian with the Valley of the Moon Music Festival. Eric, how you doing?
Good. Tim, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're back.
Yeah,
and
I am too.
Eric, in the past, you've brought yourself. You've brought your wife. You've brought a guy who played cello.
Yeah, Nick Reeves.
Nick Reeves, the guy was great.
It was fun.
Yeah. And then today, you brought another very special guest, which is Rose Nellis.
I did.
And she's with Quartet Amizia. And she'll be performing, I think, today, this week, or this coming weeks, at the Valley of the Music Festival. So, Rose, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be in California.
Well, welcome. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And Rose, you're from the East Coast, right?
I'm from New York City.
New York City, the big city.
The big city.
So tell me real quick, you've been in Sonoma now for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Is it different than New York, or is it about the same?
Oh, no, it's really different.
Oh, it is.
I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, so that has a slightly different vibe than Manhattan for sure. But no, it's just beautiful here, and
nice.
People are warm and friendly. And
Eric, don't tell her the truth. Don't tell her the truth. Well, we're glad you're here. So welcome. So as you guys know, the podcast, we talk about things that are happening, and I hear that the Valley of the Moon Music Festival is coming back to the Valley of the Moon. So, Eric, is this true?
It's true for the 12th year in a row.
Okay. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say we did have to skip the pandemic year live. Right. We did a bunch of recordings, but we couldn't come to Sonoma.
Which was great, and I really enjoyed seeing those.
Yes, that was fun.
I think some of those are even like in your living room or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Forte piano.
Right. Yes.
I remember.
Yeah, you remember forte piano. Yeah.
Well, because then I asked you if it's a forte piano, and then a soft piano will be a piano. It doesn't make sense.
Right. No. Well. Right. So forte piano just means that was the first name for the piano, and it just means that you can play loud and soft on it. And basically, you can play loud and soft and anything in between, but they left out that part. But but in any case, forte piano. So that's what they called it, and then it's eventually got abbreviated to piano. Sometimes people called it pianoforte, and there wasn't any rules about what it was called. But we call a period piano. We call it a forte piano.
That's
now
because I still see all the time that's after your name there it says Eric Zivian.
Forte piano, or sometimes it just says piano. But
piano. So you're with the Valley of the Music Festival, and this year the reason why I brought up postcards is because some guy went on vacation named Dvořák and sent a bunch of postcards.
Yes.
Is that the correct assumption?
Well, let's
we're calling it postcards
from
Dvořák.
Postcards from Dvořák.
Yeah,
and
I
think it may have been letters mostly. But we're just going to say that it's postcards.
Well, I'm assuming
it's kind of fun.
Well, tell me about this guy. And say his name again.
Antonín Dvořák.
Dvořák. Okay. Yeah. And was he from an area that's currently what part of Europe? Where is he from?
Well, he's from what currently would be called the Czech Republic, which once was part of Czechoslovakia, and he was from the part called Bohemia, which is where Prague is, and
So he's part of the Bohemian.
Yeah,
people.
and he spent. I think he was born in this town, but he grew up, and then he spent a lot of time in Prague before he went all over the world, and that's what our theme of the festival this year is about, his travels all over the world, because he was one of the most well-traveled musicians and composers of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that because he was he like wealthy enough to be able to travel? I mean, travel was probably expensive back then.
No,
he was just like he played a lot of music, and people were like, hey, come play for me.
Yeah, exactly, more like that. More composed. Although I think he did play viola actually.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, he wrote a lot of juicy viola melodies.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But mostly he was composing and then coming to supervise and hear his pieces and go and teach and all sorts of things. And he was born in extremely modest means and butcher's apprentice and things like that. So but then he wrote music and he was extremely talented, and so he got well known. And then his first venture to a different country was to Austria, Vienna, where Brahms, another composer, championed him, and so he started, and then he got invited to London. England was very interested in composers.
Okay, hold on. So I'm sensing you're doing a good job here. I'm holding the Postcards from Dvořák pamphlet here, and it starts off with a concert called Bohemian Homeland.
Right.
So you mentioned this is where he's from.
Right.
He's this butcher guy.
Right.
And he's like, I'm going to stop butchering and pick up a viola. Or maybe he butchered the viola. You can probably tell me if it's bad or not. Then you have another one called With Love from Vienna.
Right. So that's his first.
I'm getting a theme here.
Yeah.
And then you have one called English Impressions.
Right. So that's his time in England.
And then you've got Russia.
Right. So he actually went to Russia and he met Tchaikovsky there, and got influenced by that music and influenced them. And I think he loved his time in Russia.
Okay, so this is his story of his moving around Europe.
Yeah, and then what's the next? You see the next?
Here's what I see: Rising Stars, the Cremona Apprentice Showcase.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what a Cremona is.
Now, Cremona, I'm not sure. He might have gone to Italy. I'm not sure. We don't. Maybe not.
Person?
But Dvořák might have gone to Italy. But Cremona's in Italy, and that's where the Stradivarius violins were made and things like that. So, but the Cremona Foundation Apprenticeship Program is because the sponsor of our apprenticeship program, David Hung, has foundation called the Cremona Foundation.
I got you.
So that just happens to be, and we're actually not doing any Dvořák on that program. That's for our apprentices. We want to train them on particular pieces on our special pianos, and so that doesn't quite fit into the theme.
But it's up and coming. But also your theme, and we'll get to Rose in a second. But like one of your themes is that you bring in, like that young man you brought in on cello,
right?
Like you bring in people who are moving into this world, and like you're learning how to be a whatever you guys are, musician. Chamber.
I guess that's what we are.
Meaning you're not playing in bars. Like this is how to become a professional. I know I say classical music, and then you're like, well, not technically classical, but whatever you guys are, the kind of music you guys play, chamber music, classical music, you're bringing up the next generation.
Right. No. And apprentice is somewhat could be seen as a somewhat lowly term considering how amazing our apprentices are. They're some of them are already professional musicians. Some of them are in school and they're at a great level, but they're interested in playing on these period instruments where string players play and gut strings, and we have these forte pianos that we already talked about, which are basically just old pianos that were built a little differently, and so they're interested in learning how to play on those instruments, and we do coaching about that and coaching just in general about
and we
music.
Still haven't gotten you to roll a piano into this very large spacious studio where we're
Yes, I'm not.
I will get you on your
the little one would fit in here, but it's a little bit of a pain to move.
This would be like a piano from Schroeder from Peanuts. It'd have to be that size. Okay, hold on. So another thing you have is the American roots.
Yes, there is.
Did Dvořák come to America?
He did.
Really? He came here?
Rose, you should take it away. You're doing. I'm loving listening
and
to
we'll
you,
jump
Eric.
to Rose in a second.
Okay. No, I mean, so there was a huge Czech community in the United States, particularly in a place called Spillville, Iowa. And so he spent some time in Spillville, Iowa, and they may have helped sponsor his trip, but in any case, they were excited about having this great Czech composer, and he came. And also in New York, they were excited about him because a woman, I think his name was Elizabeth Sprague Coolidge, and she was a philanthropist, and she started a very progressive music school in New York City, where she wanted to train African American students as well as all other kinds, and talk about all the sort of different musics of America.
And just so I know, what time frame are we talking about in American
1890.
history?
So so very progressive.
Yeah, so not like a time when you would think.
Yeah, not when when you would think that would happen.
Reconstruction and things were not at their finest.
No, not absolutely not. But there were still people in New York who were very progressive, who were trying to keep that kind of thing going. And And Dvořák was extremely open-minded. Obviously, he was interested in every country. He was nationalistic about the music of Bohemia, but he also was interested in music from everywhere. And he was interested. And when he met these African American composers, he was so curious. And one of them, Harry Burleigh, we're going to feature on the American concert. And he was the one. If you hear a kind of quote-unquote classical rendition of a spiritual, that'll often be arranged by Harry Burleigh. But he also wrote his own music, which we're presenting here, but influenced by that kind of music. And then Dvořák wrote his New World Symphony and put the spirituals in there. And we're going to be performing the American Quintet, string quintet, which he wrote there, which has some American influence music in there as well. He was interested in Native American music. He was just so curious.
So he was just like a very curious person.
Yeah,
absolutely. Guy and kind of like the original ethnomusicologist. If you know, like just collecting music from all over the world and like internalizing it and then expressing it in his own way, in his own music.
He was the Anthony Bourdain of music. Yeah. He would go around, listen to other people, riff on it,
absolutely,
bring it back. And then you have the final concert, final years, Going Home. Did he eventually go back to Bohemia?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he die there? He's dead.
Yes.
Okay.
That's one of the things that I love about the quartet that we're playing. We're with Quartet Amizia, we're playing the A-flat string quartet by Dvořák, and he actually started it when he was still in America.
Okay.
And then he took a break from it for a long time, and he wrote the later movements when he was back home. And so I think that there is like a palpable shift in the energy. Like there is this kind of like celebratory feeling in the last movement especially, whereas at the beginning I think there's a lot of searching. And I think there's some longing.
Like, so he was far from home.
Yeah, he was far
lonely.
from home. Yeah, so I like that you can hear that like emotional trajectory in a way in like a single piece. And
that it's kind of like his postcard.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm far from home. I'm lonely, and then it's like I went back.
Yeah.
And I found my roots, and I've if you're doing the heroic journey, the whole journey happened within yourself as well as your actual physical journey. So I wonder if Dvořák felt that. What was his first name?
Antonín.
Antonín. Can we call him Anthony? Andy?
Andy.
I'll call him Antonín. Eric, the face you just gave me, I'll say Anthony. So then what I also like what you guys do as part of the Valley Music Festival, you have some free concerts, I think, that you kind of set up, or like outdoor concerts or al fresco concerts or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me what those are about.
Yeah, so the particular one that's free is the La Luz concert. I mean, it's sort of
$2.
Yeah, it's sort of pay what you can or whatever, but so let's call it free.
Donate what you can. Yeah. Okay, good.
And so that this coming Wednesday at 7:00 on the patio at La Luz.
That's wonderful.
And at La Luz, we always play all Spanish-speaking composers, or at least mostly Spanish-speaking composers, and we do all the announcements in Spanish and English. We have violist Ramon Martinez, and he'll be. He's picked all the music for that, and he's going to be kind of running the show, helping to run the show, and also playing with a different string quartet there and a double bass. Yeah.
And then you have another al fresco concert. Al fresco being the fancy way to say outdoors without a roof.
Right.
At the Buena Vista.
Buena Vista. That's the following Tuesday.
Okay.
And that one is not free, but it's very popular, and it often sells out. So if you're interested in it, you should
go to that one.
You should.
The same place they do some Shakespeare plays. It's a big stone wall.
Yeah, with a big stone wall, which helps with the sound.
It does.
It's a quiet sound, but it's a very. I find it a very good sound. You can really hear every note, just a little quieter.
Yeah. No, and that's a good one. And then I see a kids and family concert at the Sonoma Community Center.
Yeah, that one's free.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So that's on. Let's see. I think that's
July
on
19th.
Yeah, thank you. Sunday, July 19th.
Let me see if I remember.
Yeah, Sunday, July
19th, 11 o'clock.
At 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's at the Sonoma Community Center, and it's going to be really fun. These guys, the Amizia Quartet, are going to be doing that, and they have some fun plans for the kids.
Hold on. Have you been to the Community Center yet to check it out?
I actually haven't been yet. I'm really excited.
I think tonight or tomorrow they are doing the 80s Dance Fest.
Oh,
so
yes.
It's a very fun thing. And in a typical Sonoma fashion, it does wrap up at 9 p.m.
Okay.
So if you want to go there and then actually go out, you can go to the Sonoma Dance and then go out. But the Community Center is a great location, former elementary school that became an art center, and everything from ceramics to ballet to concerts. It's a neat spot. Eric, I know I've asked you before how you got into this, so I'm just going to briefly, how long have you been in the music world?
how long have I been in the music world? Well, a great proportion of my now somewhat longer life than it used to be. I started when I was 4 years old playing piano. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I did a little music composition starting very soon after that.
Very good.
And played a little cello when I was younger, but
really?
not for very long. And and I didn't practice that instrument. I practiced piano a lot, but I never practiced cello much.
But Tanya's a celloist. Tanya.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
She goes by Tanya.
Yep,
We
Tanya.
did this last time. I know someone else that goes by Tanya, and it confuses me every time. And English needs to figure that out.
Right, and then there's the spelling where
I know.
everybody spells it with
What
an
is
O
wrong with
now,
these people?
mostly because of Tanya Harding, I think. But yeah,
That could be, yeah. All right, so you've been doing music for a very long time, and you're also a music teacher, and you founded, or one of the founders of this festival.
Tanya and I founded it.
Okay, and I'm glad you guys chose to come to Sonoma Valley of the Moon.
Oh, and we are so happy to be here too. It couldn't be a better place for us.
Because if you did it back home in Berkeley, it'd just be foggy.
Oh yeah.
And there'd be an AC transit bus going by. And there'd be some crazy guy on telegraph yelling at you. So it's so much better that you're up here.
Yeah, it's nice. It's great
appreciate that.
being up here. Yeah.
Well, let me turn my focus to Rose Nellis. You're from Brooklyn.
I am.
I can notice that because you have the matcha in your hand, a bunch of tattoos. People who are probably watching that can see that here. Rose, did you grow up in Brooklyn?
I did, yeah. My parents are still there, and I lived there my whole life. And then I've had some brief travels. So I did a semester abroad in Scotland.
Oh, cool.
I also have a degree in Chinese language and literature. So
As you do, of course.
I spent a summer studying Chinese after my freshman year of college in China.
Oh, really? So you studied abroad in China?
Yeah, I mean, just for 2 months,
Right.
but it was pretty life-changing.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I started playing when I was 5.
Okay.
I started on violin, actually.
Right.
And then...
Or were you doing the... Is it called the Suzuki method or whatever it's called? For since my daughter started
know,
violin, and they had to
only-
do this weird thing with her arm all the time. Like
Yeah.
swinging around.
Well, I mean, they start with posture, right? And
Yeah.
it's like it's still like the main thing that I think about, like even just sitting here,
Yes.
but also playing.
Yes.
So I had 1 year of Suzuki, and then my music lessons were determined by the school I was at. So I was
right.
really lucky. I went to a public school that had music lessons that were privately funded. So yeah, I was really, really lucky, and I had private lessons twice a week.
Through a public school.
Yeah, it's called.
That's
it's
amazing.
A public school called the Special Music School in New York City.
So what do they focus on at the special music school? Like auto mechanics and wood shop? It was really called the Special Music School?
Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. It's an amazing institution.
I thought all the schools in New York are called like PS12 and...
Yeah, I think it has a
PS36.
it's like PS 859 or something like that.
okay.
But yeah, we call
Special?
it SMS. So I know. I sat through so many jokes about going to
Right.
the special music school growing
Sure.
up.
So is it like one of those like fame kind of schools where you try out and you try to get into it, or is it like a public school and like everyone just learns?
You do have to try out. I mean, it is really small. Like there were 13 kids in
Oh, wow.
that grade.
Well, that is a special music
yeah.
school.
But you know, when you're auditioning and you're 4 years old, which is what I did, like I didn't play anything, so they're
Bar wasn't that high.
Well, no, they're trying to see, does she have like a natural ear? Can she
Okay.
keep,
Can she sit
pulse?
in a chair?
Can she? Yeah, that's true. Is she interested in
Right.
music? But like just seeing, if a student is engaging with music.
Okay.
Huh.
And that's great.
Yeah.
It's I just want to I'm going to turn this quickly into an ad. Support the arts in schools, people, because it's important. I've seen it. My kids' school, great marching band. My kids didn't do it, but great band, and I enjoyed seeing it. Great theater. My nieces go to a fantastic school in San Diego. It's sort of like the something music school. I don't know what it's called, but I went there for a performance and I was blown away. These kids were so amazing. They're like middle schoolers.
Yeah.
And it's really something to see, So please, everyone, go vote for more arts funding for your schools.
Yes.
And then Rose, how did you get into what you're doing now, which I assume you're a professional musician?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
full-time.
How does that work?
Well, I wear a lot of different hats. So I teach at a University of Montclair, and that's in New Jersey.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like 20 minutes
Okay,
outside of the
over the
city.
river and through the woods, okay.
And then I'm also in school right now myself, so
Oh.
I'm both a teacher and a student.
Okay, what are you learning?
Well, I just started my first year of my doctorate.
Okay.
So eventually there'll be some long thesis that I write, but I have yet to figure out what that will be on.
Are you studying music?
Yeah.
Chinese. Okay.
Yeah. It's in music performance.
Okay.
Viola performance. It's called a doctorate of musical arts.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I did
So-
not know that was a thing, but very good. Congratulations on that.
Yeah. Actually, we have a couple other fellows who are in the same program as me. in New York City. Yeah, and then like a lot of freelancing, trying to find time to meet with my quartet.
Good.
So we do a lot of traveling together as a quartet.
And I was going to bring that up. And I was going to tell like a joke about, how does a musician make their car go faster? They take the pizza delivery sign off the top. That's not funny, but you are actually a working musician. So people who don't know, we record this in a studio that there's tons of musicians that come and go. As you know, we are in this studio is surrounded by the detritus of all these different bands, and they leave their crap in here. And a lot of them are really good musicians, but they're also hustling to pay the bills and doing different jobs and stuff like that. So it's awesome that you guys are able to find full-time employment in the arts. I think that's great. Quartet Amizia. Mm-hmm. Are they all there in New York, or where are they based? Okay.
Yeah, we're a very unusual quartet. So Young's in Amsterdam, Juliet's in Brussels, and Clara this year was in Paris.
How do you practice?
Well, it's very residency based. So about like either once a month or once every 2 months, we'll set up a residency for ourselves so we can come together and work a little bit. And like we got to go to Amsterdam to prep our repertoire for this summer.
Really? So you guys all decamp to like a location?
Just the four of us.
And then does Eric say, "Hey, this is the theme"?
Yeah. We had some conversations with Eric and Tanya talking about repertoire.
And you go to the old music store and you get all the sheet music somewhere.
Exactly.
The music store, which is now called IMSLP, and it's all online it was so nice when there were music stores and there was so much music.
Yeah, there was those
really
music publishers. They don't. Yeah. Well, like I said, my daughter a long time ago says, "Dad, I want to go to the store and get some vinyls." And I thought, we're going to a flooring store? What the hell are we talking about? And she meant records, albums, LPs. Yeah, I'm like, vinyls? They're called records. She goes, "Oh, how does that work?" I'm like, "Oh my God." But, okay, so what I'm hearing, though, is that a winery needs to get some musicians to be residency.
Yeah.
Invite you guys all in to workshop your music for like 6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like paradise.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
So if anyone's looking to host a bunch of people, musicians like Quartet Amizia, to do it. So you guys all get together and you practice your works. Tell me about the works you're doing, or pieces, or whatever the proper word is for the concerts.
So we're playing 2 quartets this summer. One of Haydn's quartets, Haydn's Opus 76 number 2, and then Dvořák's A flat. Quartet. They're both wildly different.
Okay.
They both, I think, show off a incredible range for both composers. Like you have in Haydn always this amazing sense of humor, but actually this Haydn quartet is much more on the serious side that I'm used to. And so for me, it's showing like a different side of Haydn. Mm-hmm. And then Dvořák, like I said, there's like already this amazing emotional range in the piece. Right. So it's great because we get to explore so many different styles.
Right. And it's 2 different concerts. It's not at the same time.
Yeah, it's 2 different concerts. I believe we're doing the Dvořák on the final concert.
Yes.
And I'm trying to remember when the Haydn is.
The Haydn's next weekend.
Yeah.
So Eric, you kind of not recycle, but you reuse your musicians for different parts of the concerts, or they all play at every concert?
No, they don't all play at every concert. No, a lot of them play at many concerts.
Okay.
And then also our Amizia Quartet, they're not only playing those 2 quartets, they're also playing a lot of other music, like Rose is about to play, and with Juliet, the Brahms string quintet with some other players and things like that. So they're not here just as a quartet, but also as musicians. So
let me ask, as you kind of like mix and match these musicians, have you played with these other people before, or do you just get here and hurry up and practice real quick?
A lot of them I actually do know from before, but there are some people like David, who's the apprentice violist. We'd never met, and we're playing the Dvořák Serenade together, and it's really nice. It's like sometimes you just meet people and it feels like you've been playing together for a long time.
But you are going to practice with him once at least before the concert.
Oh, of course.
That's what we call rehearsing.
That's what we call rehearsal.
That's why we're here a whole week early here to rehearse
so you guys
everything.
flying early.
Yeah.
And then where have you been rehearsing? Where do you go?
At the Hannah Center, which is
where the concerts are.
Yeah. So we have access to a bunch of different spaces there, and a couple hours every day on different pieces, and
that's cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Nice.
And you guys are all staying in and around Sonoma Valley? Are they?
I think most of us are staying with hosts, if not all of us are staying with host families.
Only because from Berkeley is kind of a long drive to come every day. So.
Oh yeah. Couldn't, even though it seems like it'd be close enough, but it's not close enough for this. It's pretty intense here.
Yeah, so. you got to be on site and doing it all. I like this. Okay, and I want to say you have something in your hand right now for people who are watching, and that is a viola.
Yeah, a viola.
Viola.
Yeah.
What is a viola for people who don't know?
Yeah, so I mean, most people know the violin, right? The viola is, I would say, like the older sibling. It's a little bit bigger,
Okay.
and it has a lower string. So if you got rid of the top string of the violin, which is an E string, let's just throw that one out, and then let's add on the C string below. So it has like a richer sound.
Okay, like a lower sound.
Range. Yeah, exactly.
Same number of strings.
Same number of strings. And because it's slightly larger, it's also slightly larger in the left hand.
Okay.
You know, and the interesting thing about violas is that they're not standard in size. So, like on this Brahms quintet, Ramon is the other violist. And first off, I'm so excited I finally get to play with Ramon because we've like circled each other in New York City for so many years, and now we're like finally in Sonoma actually playing together.
Classic. You live like 5 miles from each other, but you have to go 3,000 miles.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's fly to California.
Total New York story. Yeah.
Yeah. But like his viola is actually quite a bit bigger than mine.
Does that change the sound?
Yeah. I mean, each instrument, like whether it's a violin, a cello, a bass, viola has its own kind of personality.
Okay.
But I do think that there's like a little bit more variety in viola just because sometimes you have like larger bodies, sometimes like the stomach, like we call this like the belly.
Okay. The middle part of it with a little cutout part.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes.
Can you tell the music? I'm a luthier, whatever you call them. So the belly of it will be different.
Yeah, the belly might be like more rounded.
Okay, but if you're playing the same note, then they sound different, don't they?
Well, that's part of our job, right? Is to know our instrument well enough that if Ramon plays a C, I'm going to put my C in the exact same place, right? Like I'm going to use my ear to match his C.
I'm like,
that makes sense.
There's no frets on this.
There's
There's
no
no
frets.
special places where you put your fingers.
Yeah.
so it's not like a piano where the C is
No,
always
it's not like
there.
that either, no.
You can move it by moving where your finger goes
Exactly.
on the fret, which is the skinnier part that people play with their hands.
Yeah. We call
like
this. we call this the neck.
The neck, I'm
of
sorry.
the instrument. And I mean, you know, if it was a guitar, right, we'd have these like little. What are they? Are they made out of metal?
Yeah, those little
metal
doohickeys. The little doohickeys.
The little doohickeys, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have the doohickeys,
Right.
So that means that like you have to be really aware of where you're putting your left.
So when the other person's playing a C, you're listening like, okay, I'm going to move my finger over here to kind of match, so our C's are similar.
Yeah, I mean, and ideally, we're hearing the same C in our head. Right? So we have like a shared sense of intonation.
Yeah.
But where Ramon is putting his finger down might be just a tiny bit higher on his instrument versus where I'm putting.
So part of the skill is you guys matching okay. Thank you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's a lot of give and take in chamber music.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Well, it sounds like everyone's there's no standardized instrument, so everyone's just kind of playing around.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really just for violas. And,
Okay.
You know, some violas are like 17 inches long.
Okay.
Mine is like 16.
Okay.
16 and a quarter is really popular.
Oh, wow.
So viola is kind of its own animal.
And you said the violin came after the viola.
No, the violin came first, I believe.
Okay.
Well, actually, they're related to a whole other family of instruments called the viols. Right? Am I right on that? I feel like you
Professor?
Vials, I guess.
Viols, thank you.
They're called vials.
It's like I know I'm saying that.
They're
wrong.
called vials.
Viols. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I actually started on violin and then I switched to viola.
Got it. Okay. And then cello,
Yeah.
the bigger one.
Yeah.
And bass, the biggest.
That's the biggest one of
And you
all.
only play that if you have sunglasses and you're in a bebop band. Is that correct? Thank you. Well, can you tell me, are you able to play some stuff on that?
Yeah,
Is that
I
okay?
can play
On
a
that
little
thing?
bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can hear the lower register.
Perfect. Let's do it. And I'll tell you if I'll like gesticulate if the microphone's not working.
How's that sounding?
That sounds very good. I'm going to bring it down a tiny bit.
Okay.
Holy cow. Wow, that sounds really good.
So let's see. A favorite is the prelude from Bach's Third Cello Suite,
Okay.
which us violists were very shifty. We steal a lot of repertoire from other instruments.
Well done.
Yeah, but I always like it because it shows off the full range of the instrument. Let's see.
That's amazing.
Oh, thank
And
you.
you never looked at your left hand once. You just knew where to put it.
Yeah, I mean it's muscle memory, right? So it's like,
Yeah, it's like when Eric plays piano. He just like, here plays the piano.
Yeah, you often don't have to look when you're playing piano either. Sometimes it's good to look, but most of the time not.
But have you ever gotten in a car that isn't your own car, and you're like, you don't know where the...
Yeah, everything feels a little out of...
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's like we develop muscle memory every day in everything that we do, right? So you spend enough hours with your instrument, you really get to know it.
That was great. Oh, that was really cool. That was... So, I mean, good job choosing her. That was good. Tell me, Eric, how do you find your musicians? Like, how does that work?
Well, Tanya and I just know a lot of people to begin with who became our first faculty when we started many years ago. And then we had online applications for the apprenticeship program. But then over the years, people learned about the apprenticeship program from each other mostly. And I would say a lot of it is word of mouth for the apprenticeship. And the rest of it is like young musicians that we know or former apprentices become our musicians later. It's a community. And by now we have such a big community of musicians who play on this kind of music, 19th and 20th century music and late 18th century music on period instruments, and we've got a whole community because we've been doing it for so long, and we have some
and you bring up the younger people.
I think I heard about Valley maybe 6 years before I actually
came
here.
Yeah. Really?
6 years before,
So the word's out there.
Oh yeah, the word's out there.
Among those who know. Among the Brooklyn hipsters. Had to come out here. Eric, this has really built up and become a big thing.
Yeah, it feels like
it really has. How do you think of your themes when you're doing this? Is it like I just have a piece of music I want to hear, so I build a whole thing around it, or just how do you do this?
No, I mean Tanya's more of the theme person than I am.
Okay.
I'm always like, well, do we have to do a theme this year? but it really is good to
people
have a theme.
like themes. People like themes.
But people really do like themes. And in the end, I have a lot of fun. Sometimes there are themes that I'm the person who says, well, I don't know about that theme because I'm not sure there's enough music that will fit that theme. And then we tweak it maybe sometimes together, or Tanya comes up with a slight variation on it. And finally, but this one was a great one. We've had other ones that basically it can fit enough different kinds of music. And Dvořák went so many places and met so many people that there's so many things. And then it's really fun actually to build around a theme because you think, oh, that piece would work. And oh, what about that piece? And that says something about this and whatever.
Okay.
So that's
the kind of how they go with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now here's a hard-hitting question. When you guys aren't violaing and fortepianoing and you're not doing music stuff, Eric, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I recently I do a lot of. I'm interested in history and philosophy and sort of politics and things like that. So I read a lot of books and things like that. I used to have a better answer to this question because I did so much road biking and I had.
Were you one of those crazy guys?
I used to bike all over. Not so much like multi-day trips, but sometimes 100 or 150 miles in a day, up and down,
up in the East Bay Hills?
and so I used to do that. And that was, but then I was afraid after two accidents, both of which affected my. It didn't actually affect my equipment in the end in terms of my fingers and hands in a really bad way, but it threatened to.
Right.
After that, I had to give up that. It was a great thing to do, but I had to give that up. So now I just bring my exercise bike and I practice during rehearsals. They were all laughing at me this morning because not practice. I bike. I was using.
You biking?
I was on the
all
exercise bike.
giving us feedback. It's amazing.
Was he really?
It's amazing.
He's like shifting. He's like, and you were flat on that one piece. And you're like, what the hell?
No, it's never that. It's never that. Eric always comes in with these like wonderful, inspirational, like theoretical ideas that then lead to all of these amazing things musically for us. So.
You ask good questions.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, sometimes it's just about like posing the right question.
I like that. Yeah. And I too enjoy riding a bike. I was never a crazy 100-miler, but if you are in the Berkeley Hills, there's some great rides up there. And stuff
so
like
much
that.
stuff there. Yeah.
But there's a whole group here. I'll have to get you. There's Taco Tuesday on Santa Rosa. 250 people get on bikes, and we go get tacos.
Yes, okay.
So that's a lot of fun, and it's not road bikes. It's just real low.
Yeah, okay.
It's like it's the crazy people. What about you, Rose? When you're not violaing,
I am probably hanging out with my dog.
Oh gosh,
my dog
there you
Bill.
go.
I am.
You have a dog named Bill?
I have a dog named Bill.
As you do. What kind of dog is Bill?
He's a pit bull mix.
Okay.
Yeah,
Aren't
and he's a rescue. He came with the name Bill. I just couldn't change it.
So we have a rescue dog too,
Okay.
and everyone's like, "What kind of dog is it?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I guarantee you it's a pit bull mix because every rescue dog."
I actually to celebrate our 1-year anniversary together, I got one of those DNA tests.
Oh,
for
it
him.
turned you
It's
out?
really interesting. Yeah.
Do you think they're telling the truth though, or are they just like mixing it up? They're just like throwing things in. They're like, okay, it's a lab, husky, Pit mix.
That's a fair question because I am so certain that he's part Dalmatian, but according to his DNA test, he isn't. So I don't know. You never know.
Knows?
But
My next life, I'm going to start a dog DNA company. Just like randomize all the results. They're like, what the heck? All right. So, and your dog lives with you in Brooklyn?
oh yeah. Well, now I'm in Upper Manhattan, but my parents are still in Brooklyn.
Okay,
But,
got
yeah,
it.
Bill lives with me in Upper Manhattan.
Okay. Who watches Bill when you're not?
My parents. So
nice.
now he's lounging in the Brooklyn sun.
He's
watching
living the life.
squirrels. Yeah, he's really living it up.
Okay, good. It's like having the best time ever.
Yeah.
Because, dogs, speaking of the other business, get into the dog boarding business. Because that's
that is a
where the
lucrative.
money's
That's
at.
very
Yeah, it's
lucrative. Yes.
insane.
Yeah.
I tell people for hotels we put them in the people boarding business, but then I do the square footage, and I'm like, dogs is the right answer.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Okay, before we get back, did the person that helped set up this interview tell you that you have to answer questions about Sonoma? Do they?
Tell me.
Yeah. So before we get to that,
Like, are we talking trivia?
no, you're gonna help me with. I'll get to it.
Oh,
Not
okay.
easy. But you know what? You're a musician. We're just gonna jam and improv, lady. We're just gonna riff, man.
Sounds good.
If people want more information about the Valley of the Moon Music Festival, is there a website or a place to get more information? And if you don't know the answer, I will cleverly look at your.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can give it, or I can give it, www.valleyofthemoonmusicfestival.org, or if that's too many words to remember, just look up Valley of the Moon Music Festival, and you will find it.
Right there.
And yeah, we're coming up to our first weekend, which we're calling the Sonoma, the Cultural Weekend.
Cultural Weekend.
Yeah, and
yes.
so that's with the Transcendence Theater, who a lot of people know about, and their first performance is this evening, and then so they have their performances are at night and ours are in the afternoon. So you can go ahead and go to our 4 p.m. Concert, and then go to Transcendence in the evening. Yeah, have some wine in the Hannah patio after our concert,
and then go to their
and then
performance.
go to Transcendence and hear a different type of music, but very related.
Yeah, and what I like, the Cultural Weekend, is that it's sort of a double header. It's like the 2-for-1. It's the whole thing you can do here. You guys have the refined, amazing music. Then tonight, it's our Transcendence doing popular music. It's called Radio Recall. And it's two people that are going to do kind of popular music plus some, I think they do Andrew Lloyd Webber. Did he do Jesus Christ Superstar? Because these two people were in Jesus Christ Superstar. So they'll also, I think, be performing some of that. One of the bass lines is fantastic. Do, 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 do. So it's going to be so much fun. We're going to love it. Cultural Weekend. If you can sneak out, go check it out. It is a fun concert. But have you been to the Transcendence yet?
I haven't been to the Transcendence.
Hold on, I'm going to give a quick shout out. Hey, Brad, maybe Brad's with Transcendence Theater. Brad, yo, why don't you throw some tickets to the viola and cello and forte pianists?
Well, I think I think they probably offered us, but I'm basically busy from morning till night here. That's the only trouble.
You can bring your bike in the corner.
There you go.
But yeah, and I'm sure I know that much of what they do is also refined, and not everything that we do is so refined. There's a lot of everything is.
I think we need to do the Great Sonoma mashup where we get all the musicians. I mean, right now Tommy Thompson's he's the Western boxing guy. He's over there DJing right now.
Right, and he has his own dog too.
Did you see his dog? Yeah. But he has great music, and he puts on a whole concert and stuff like that. So we could do some of the Sebastiani Theater, or segue time real quickly. On the plaza, we have a thing called the Grinstead Amphitheater. It's named after someone named Grinstead. It's the amphitheater, and we do Sundays music on the plaza. There's a group called Music in Place. They find musicians from all over.
We know
to
that.
come bring up. Yeah, so they probably work through. So they've had Dirty Cello on before, but so coming up, they have like the Great American Songbook. They have funk music. They have Americana, bluegrass, Brazilian bossa nova, samba. So they all find different types of music, and they perform outdoors on Sundays for free in the Sonoma Plaza.
Right.
So if you have a chance to go to the plaza yet, go down there.
I have been to the plaza. It's amazing.
Oh, did you bring up the Tuesday night market yet?
Oh yeah, we've been there. We were just there. In fact, they played there.
We did.
You did?
The Amizia minus their cellist played at the farmer's.
Yeah, we played one movement of this. It's a trio by Dvořák for 2 violins and viola.
Wait, was it announced or you guys just go do it? Because I didn't know you were doing
It
that.
was kind of a pop-up.
It was announced?
A little bit of a pop-up.
Were you in the
situation.
amphitheater or were you in front of the tree?
Where were we? We weren't in the amphitheater.
Were you standing
we were kind
on
of in
grass?
the middle.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were.
Yeah, in front of the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big, very historically accurate canary palm tree. So it's a which for the holidays we decorate with bright lights. And then we have the amphitheater too. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah.
But mostly for the farmer's market, people are on the grass.
Okay.
And people are just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had the best nectarines of my life ever.
Aren't they
when I was
amazing?
there. Yeah.
So you actually found some fruits and vegetables at the farmer's market.
Oh yeah.
Because normally everyone's eating corn dogs and like just having a great time.
I went straight for the stone fruits because I hear they're in season right now. So
Well done.
I don't mess around when it comes to California produce.
No, yeah,
so.
peaches and nectarines are in season. If you stay here longer, and you will, the Friday morning market is sort of more like the farmer's market, and that's just a block and a half north of the plaza at what's called Depot Park. So
I didn't know about that one.
it's a good one, and that's where the actual farmers are. The chefs are out there too. They don't really have music, but good food and stuff like that. So so that is again valuethemoonmusicfestival.org. People can find out about information. They can buy tickets.
Yep.
Okay.
And they can find out about the cultural weekend either at our website or at Transcendence, and we have different deals on tickets to get things off, or other restaurants and stuff like that.
And I hear it's .org, which means you're probably some kind of nonprofit, which means if I'm a bajillionaire and I want to donate a bunch of money to endow the Valley of the Music Festival.
Yeah, there's a way to do that on the website.
Thank God.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the endowment button, and you send it there. Okay, guys, this has been wonderful. You have been fantastic. You do not get to escape.
Right.
Okay. The final movement includes, or whatever we say here, that we. Okay, I love that she didn't tell you this. This is the best. So, we have 2 visitor centers. Okay, one's on the plaza, one's south of town. People call us, they text us, they send us social media messages. They have yet to write a musical song and send it to us, but they ask us these questions. I'm now deputizing you guys as volunteers to help me in the segment we call We Get Questions.
Okay.
You got this. This is so easy. And here's the neat thing. Because you're volunteers, you're not actually expected to know all the answers, so you can say, can you help me?
I
amazing.
certainly did not know the answers the last time.
He did a great job. He did a great job. So what I do is I listen to the questions we get. We just write them down. But also, if you have something from your own personal experience, like back in Berkeley or Brooklyn, then you can also just say, oh, I don't know that for Sonoma, but I know it for where I'm from. Okay? So here we
You
go.
didn't tell me that last time.
I know. I was feeling mean to you. Well, whatever. So here's a question. Someone came in. They're visiting from San Jose, and they're looking for picnic items. Are there places where you can buy picnic items in Sonoma Valley?
I would check out one of the farmers markets.
That's an amazing idea. That's right. One of the amazing farmers markets is a good idea. I can also state the Sonoma Market is a grocery store.
Motor Market is great. Yeah.
Good one. They have all sorts of stuff right there. So
And I think, is it a branch of that's in Glen Ellen, that's closer to the Hannah Center?
Good job.
Yeah, that's where I sometimes go shopping when I have to do it in 10 minutes, back and forth to
The
rehearsals.
Glen Ellen
Yeah, the
Village
Glen Ellen
Market.
Market, yeah.
we're so clever here. We have the city name and then market afterwards. So you're right. Glen Ellen Market and Sonoma Market both have really good picnic selections.
Yeah.
Cheeses, the olives, all the accoutrement. So good. See, that was easy, right?
Yeah.
That was so. If I'm going to if I'm in New York, what's that place that everyone goes to? It's like the Upper West.
I mean, there are so many places.
Zabar.
New York, yeah, just a
there's
few.
Zabars, there's Fairway, there's always a Whole Foods somewhere.
Yeah. Where do people picnic? In Central?
Central Park is a popular spot, or if you're in Brooklyn, Prospect Park is beautiful.
Prospect Park, yeah.
Or if you live up where I live and all of the other musicians in New York, if you go north of Washington Heights, there's this really beautiful park called Fort Tryon Park.
Okay.
And it actually has an extension of the Met Museum in it.
Oh.
But I love this park because you can both see the water and incredible views of Manhattan because it's on a hill. So.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
Fort
gorgeous.
what?
Fort Tryon.
Fort Tryon Park.
Yeah.
Okay. Eric, same question. If I'm in the East Bay, I want to go for a picnic. I'm not on a bike though. Where do you go?
Let's see. Well, there's a lot of parks like this is for biking too, but Tilden Park is right near where we are, and that's a beautiful place, I'd say, for a picnic. And if you have little kids, you can go to the steam trains at the top of the.
That's
and
right.
I've never actually been on, but I've seen them going by.
they're
Everybody's
pretty
having
cool.
a great time on those.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that where Lake Chabot is, or am I crazy? Or is it
No, Lake Chabot is somewhere else. That's further, I think, sort of more southeast. But
Oakland, I think. Okay, yeah. So yeah,
that's nice too. Lake Chabot's nice.
That is a nice spot up there. So yeah, Tilden Park. I remember that from I think we went camping. Believe it or
It was
not.
Lake Anza. Lake Anza's in
That could be
Tilden.
it. That could be it, yeah. So I remember like as scouts, we went up there at Tilden once. So I thought we were so far away. They're like, wait a minute, Berkeley is right there. We're not that far away. Okay, next question. This is pretty good. You might know this one too. We're looking for a sandwich. Where's a good place for a sandwich?
Ooh.
Oh, you kind of already answered one.
Do I know the answer?
You can say Glen Ellen Village Market.
Oh, well, so the Glen Ellen Village Park.
have
Sure,
great
sure. Yeah,
sandwiches.
yeah, they do.
You could also, if you were into a wrap
Yeah, go for it.
spread,
Spread.
Spread is
You've
great.
discovered spread, have you?
I have, and I love Lebanese food.
Yeah.
And
Great spot.
Amazing.
Christina Topham. They also have these fries that have I think za'atar, whatever the spice on it. It's
Za'atar is great.
Za'atar.
Yeah, that's a
so
wonderful
good.
thing. If you are in the Glen Ellen area, which I know because it's so close to Hannah Center, and this is actually I think still in Sonoma or maybe Boys Hot Springs, but at the corner of Madrone and Arnold Drive, there's a burrito taco place. It's really good. It's just like it looks like a store, but those are good things.
Eric, that is a deep cut. That's locals only know that. I am so impressed.
Well done.
They have great tacos and sandwiches.
Yeah.
Eric, holy crap! You're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to answer all these questions.
Well, I'm doing better this year. What can I say?
For the past 11 months, he's been stalking all the.
Yeah, right. I've been nervous about this interview all year.
But people do come in and they ask us these questions, so that was great. Do you have another one for the sandwich? Or you're good
I
there,
think I'm
Rose?
going to stick with spread.
Okay, no,
I feel
it's-
very confident with that
It's
one.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And it is odd. People come in, they ask us all sorts of questions. So today someone came in and they said, can you please just help us settle a question? Is a viola just a large violin or is the violin just an undersized
They
viola?
did not ask that.
They do. It's
Did they?
what are the odds?
Did
what
they
are
really?
people come in and they ask me all sorts of questions, Rose. What are the odds? So so I can tell them what's the
Yeah.
right answer.
Okay, so it's slightly larger than the violin, lower in register,
Okay.
and we usually play a different role in chamber music groups. So like violin, first violin in chamber music's always going to have the melody a lot of the time. We're kind of the inner workings of it. And actually, I have this great, I think Friends of Sonoma will appreciate this. When I was like 13 and I had just switched to viola from violin, I was having a tough time because people like to make viola jokes. And I was a very sensitive teenager.
Right.
You
Oh,
know?
yes, of course.
And someone said, a string quartet is kind of like a bottle of wine. So you have the first violin who, way back in the old days, quartets were always named after the first violinist, or often. So they said, first violin's kind of like the label of the wine.
Okay.
The cello, there's the bass register, kind of really lays the foundation for the quartet. The cello's like the bottle.
Okay.
But the viola and the second violin are the wine.
Oh.
And so I've always stuck with that. So
You're the reason people come back for another sip.
Yeah.
Is the actual
Exactly.
viola.
Yeah.
Okay, I like
Yeah.
that.
So, we're like, the darker mid-register.
Okay.
And viola is the favorite string instrument of composers.
Yes.
It is.
Mozart, Dvořák, many
Good.
other composers also love to play the viola because they were in the inside of the music, not experiencing the inner workings of it, and I
Yeah.
think they liked that. Yeah.
You get a lot of like really juicy harmonies when you're a viola. It's nice.
I wish you were there to answer this question when these people came in and asked this. That would be amazing. But this is a good answer, and I will let them know.
Yay, good.
Next time someone walks in and asks me this question, I was shocked at what are the odds. So good job. Another question we got. Do you have a map of California?
Oh, I do not.
A paper map of California?
Yeah, people wanted that.
I don't even know if I have a paper map of California anymore. I probably do.
I have good news for you. If you were standing in the visitor center, they're right there on the second floor.
Oh, nice.
So you would have had one.
Yeah.
So we do have a paper map of California. These people were driving up and down the coast. So they wanted to just kind of visualize California. And I kind of, New York, as you know, New York State, where you were born, kind of weird. It's actually a really big state.
It is huge.
But it's kind of rectangular, so it kind of fits on a map. California.
Yeah,
It's the Chile of states. So it's actually on, like, one side is Northern California, one side is Southern California. And poor Monterey doesn't know what it is. It's just right there in the middle. But yeah, okay, so we do have a map of California. Final question we got, and you're going to have to indulge me for this bad bit of acting. Ready? We're here from Boston for a wedding. We're riding around today. So where can we park our bikes? Did you guys get my
Where can
Boston?
we
Park
park
our
our
bikes.
bikes?
Park our bikes.
Park our bikes.
Did I pronounce Boston correctly? Boston.
Boston.
Going to Donkeys.
Where do you park it? You can pretty much park it anywhere, can't? I mean, there's so
You
many.
can. Bicycles you can park anywhere.
I would say just make sure you lock it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
we're very trusting here. However, yeah, there's bike racks in the plaza and in front of some of the buildings. There are. We should get some more, of course. Yeah. But the Bostonians were pretty. One, they were happy that no one was trying to wildly drive over them. Like Boston on Com Ave. But two, yeah, there's lots of places you can ride your bike to and park it right there. So, wow, Eric, you knew all the answers. And Rose, you did a good job.
I did okay. Yeah, my first time.
This is not that hard, right? I'm just so amazed that people come in and ask me questions. Last time they asked me about a forte piano, I was so shocked that someone would come in and ask me that question. So random, right? Guys, this has been wonderful. You guys, I'm excited about the postcards from Dvořák.
We are too. Yeah.
From Antonín. Again, if people want more information about the concerts and the festival, what is it again, Eric?
Valley of the Moon Music Festival.org.
Okay, but I want to keep learning more about Quartet Amizia. Is there any information about Quartet Amizia that I can look up?
Oh my gosh. We're getting our Instagram going. So if you
you need a marketing person.
I know, we really do need a marketing person. So if we have any volunteers.
So maybe can people find more about you someplace else?
Yeah, actually, if you look us up on YouTube, you can find videos of us playing, and actually our performances last year here, which were really fun. And
So they look up Quartet Amizia?
Amizia,
Could you spell Amizia so people know?
Yes, Amizia.
Okay.
Amizia.
Quartet Amizia.
Yeah, actually comes from the Italian word for friendship, which is amicizia.
I like that.
A little play on words there. So.
You put it there. And again, if people want to host the artists in residence that are Quartet Amizia, they just contact you. And then for 4 or 6 weeks, you're just sitting in a vineyard jamming or whatever. Yeah. Okay, very good. Did I forget to ask you anything else important before we finish up the podcast? Eric, did I forget anything?
Where's the best coffee in Sonoma?
Okay, thank you. That's a great question. I'm kind of an aficionado of coffee.
Okay.
And there are a lot of good coffee shops. If you like just plain coffee, right? So there's one's called Sonoma's Best Coffee. That's actually the name of the coffee. So I can't say that, I love all my children equally. But Sonoma's Best Coffee is at the Cheese Factory, which is right next to Toscano Hotel. So that's a good place to get coffee. There's also Ohm Coffee, OHM Coffee. There's also Sam's is a new place. It's fantastic right on Broadway. They have really good coffee. Up by you, because you're up by the Hannon Center, go to Le Pascal. Pascal, the French place.
They're good croissants and pastries there.
And it's
sandwiches.
If you speak Chinese, but Le Pascal, there's Pascal feminine and Pascal masculine. They are married to each other. Hence, Les Pascals.
Oh, I see.
I know. And when I go in there, I'm always like, and I don't know if I can tell the difference between like Pascal and Pascal. It's like Chris and Chris, right? So, but yeah, so they have good coffee up there.
Okay.
So go check that out. And then Pillow Fight Coffee in Kenwood. If you dare, leave the Hanna Center and head north, go to Pillow Fight Coffee.
Okay.
And really good scones. You can tell I'm an aficionado. Yep. I'm still wearing some on my shirt. So that's the answer. Guys, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
It's been really fun to be here. We had a great time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I know you got to get back on your bike. You got to get to practice.
Yeah.
So after you've gone to valleyofthemusicfestival.org to buy your tickets and to bequeath all your money to them for an endowment, after you've gone to Quartet Amizia on YouTube and book them for the thing, please go to sonomavalley.com for deals, special offers, and events. Mom and Dad, safe travels, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.